Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It's a beautiful Thursday morning, September 16th, 2021. For me, it's day 5 of Delta variant of the COVID virus, and happy to be back with you here. We're going to have a really interesting conversation today, and I think it reiterates, like most things in life, there are two paths that you can take. And there's the frequent path that most people take. And then for most issues, problems, challenges, there's an alternative route that one can choose. Just most people aren't aware of it. And so we're going to go through and talk about building fundability. We started with this conversation back on the 14th. My screen should be shared with you. And it was so well received, we've posted it up on the White Label website. Today, though, we're going to talk about 5 fast ways to dramatically improve a client's fundability. Now, you have to understand that this is being recorded. It'll be posted on our YouTube channel. It'll probably be posted on the website. Everything that we discuss is going to be legal, ethical, moral, won't be gray. Everything seems like that we do will be reviewed by the FTC, by government authorities, because what we're doing is legal and ethical, but it's unorthodox. It's a contrarian approach. So we're going to go through and teach you 5 topics, or at least discuss 5 topics maybe you're aware of how we can work with clients to dramatically and quickly improve their fundability. Sound good? All right, so let me scroll down here. And so some of you are asking questions that aren't on our topic today. So it's impossible with over 10,000 distribution partners. So if your way of communicating with me is posting a Q&A in Zoom of something off topic, it's probably not going to be very effective. I would encourage you to email or call. Okay, so let's get to the first one. Now, some of these are going to be, again, a little bit outside of the box. So we're going to go through each one. We'll defend it. We'll answer questions before we move on to the next. But these are big deals that, again, you may be a seasoned pro and all of this is very familiar to you, but I suspect it may not be. Okay, so what are some things that we can do? 5 specific strategies to improve fundability of a client very quickly. Number 1, we can help them increase their personal net worth. And you might say, well, how is that possible? Well, first thing that we need to do, and of course you do this already if you're a white label partner. If you're acting as a mentor for a client, you know, as you take them through those 4 modules, you're helping them complete their personal financial statement. And we've trained you. We had an in-person training here a couple of weeks ago. We've had trainings online. We've trained you of how to help clients complete the personal financial statement. Because if you leave it to the average client, they'll do a poor job of it. And it'll either be inaccurate, incomplete, or leave them looking less attractive than they should. So first off, before we even get to our strategy here, you need to make sure that you've helped your client develop an accurate and complete personal financial statement. We've covered that in separate trainings. But let's assume that we've already done that, which all of you should be, right? If you're mentoring clients, that's part of the 4 modules is helping them build out an optimized personal financial statement, right? We're all clear on that. Now, what is it that we can do? Because a lot of people aren't really in a very good position. They don't have much net worth. Their assets are not much above their liabilities, or maybe they don't really have any assets, or they have a lot of liabilities. And so it's not reflecting positively on their personal financial statement. So without lying, without misleading, without cheating, is there anything that we can do to give them a higher net worth instantly? Absolutely. So let's talk about that. You and I can add $100,000 or more. We do it in $100,000 blocks, but $100,000 or more of receivables to instantly boost net worth. Now, I could have shared my screen, I guess, and divided it, and we could look at what a PFS again is, but I think we've covered that and you're familiar with it. If not, there's training on that on the white label page. And that's where you'll get the PFS form as well. Well, why would we care about adding more assets to a client's personal financial statement? Why would that even matter? Well, it matters because having a higher net worth makes that person look more credible, more fundable. It increases their access to capital, and it provides collateral, right? You and I have spent so much time talking about the 3 C's: credit, cash flow, collateral. This is a way to be able to instantly create collateral for a client, legally and ethically. And we'll talk more about the legality and ethics in just a second. So we can provide receivables within 24 hours. You might say, well, what's in it for you? Well, this role here is something that we've not talked about much. Our top debt broker, his name is Rick. Rick most recently placed, let me pull the number up so I can give it to you exactly. Rick, who is a debt broker, most recently placed $3,474,000 of debt instruments. So it's not unusual that there are some people out there that have a unique skill set. They're debt brokers, and they facilitate the sale of debt. You could do that if you want. There's no cost to be a debt broker. Not trying to recruit you or sell anything, but it's a good deal. I mean, you're making a 50% commission by facilitating. Ultimately, we're not here to talk about what's in it for you. We're talking about what's in it for the client to improve their fundability. But just so you know, let's go through a simple example. So the client can buy through you as a debt broker from us $100,000 of receivables. We usually offer it at an 80% discount. Now, these are real receivables, true debt instruments owed by a person and or a business for a defined amount. So it's a real receivable. The buyer can then post this as accounts receivable on their personal financial statement. Because if you remember, when you've helped clients develop a PFS before, it asks, what kind of receivables do you have? Guess what? A lot of people don't have any receivables. We're not talking about business right now. We're talking about personal. But there's a spot on there for receivables that is an asset. The person that's posting those receivables, so they buy $100,000 receivables, they can either collect it directly themselves, work with third parties, or they can just simply hold on to it for a bit and resell it. What's really powerful about these receivables is that they grow, because the way that the receivables grow is that they have a $50 late fee attached to the debtor. So if you bought $100,000 of receivables, I shouldn't say you, if a client bought $100,000 of receivables today, would it be worth more or less tomorrow? It would go up. And the next day, it would go up. And the next day, it would go up. So it's very interesting that debt brokers have a unique ability to be able to place debt with clients to improve their personal financial statement. And it's not a depreciating asset like a car. Most cars you buy and it's worth less after you drive it off the lot. This literally grows on a daily basis. Now, again, these are real receivables, because if you did anything that was fraudulent or inaccurate, that would be bad. You nor I want to be involved with that. So it's going to come with a data set. It's going to have the name of the debtor, the address, their phone number, email, social security number, driver's license number, EIN, etc. So the data set can vary a bit, but this is typically what's included. And so then that allows the debt to be collected internally by third parties, or it can be resold. It can be resold at a profit because it's worth more tomorrow than it is today. So I'm going to stop there for a moment. And I know this is a little bit radical. For those of you that have not been involved with debt brokering before, your heads may be spinning. So let's step back again. What are we talking about? We're talking about 5 ways that, frankly, the average Joe off the street doesn't know how to build their fundability so they can go get access to capital. We're just on number 1 of the 5, and it's talking about increasing one's personal net worth. First thing that needs to be done is we need to make sure that they do have a personal financial statement that's accurate and complete. That's what our mentors do, right? Any of you that are white label partners, you're already doing this on a regular basis with your clients, right? It's part of the loan package. What you may not have known, because we haven't really talked about these advanced strategies explicitly until today, is if their PFS isn't strong, you can fix that. And we fix that by adding an asset to their personal financial statement. Not lying, not cheating, not misleading. It's truly an asset that's added to their net worth. And it's an increasing asset. Who has questions on the relevance of this? All right, so Timothy's asking, well, when would someone need this? If you're one of the mentors, you're helping them complete the personal financial statement. You're probably reviewing it with them, and you're probably helping them upload into the Dropbox. It doesn't take, it's not rocket science to look at their personal financial statement and look at what their net worth is. If they don't have at least $100,000 net worth, then you might want to consider some strategies to improve their net worth, to improve their fundability. So it's real simple. Help them complete their personal financial statement, which you should be doing anyway if you're one of the mentors. And then once you've completed it, if it doesn't look very good, if they don't have many assets, if they don't have positive net worth, then you might want to help them add assets. Thank you, Timothy. Samuel's asking the price. Well, it's right here. So we sell 100,000 of real receivables for 20 grand. It's an 80% discount. You make half of that, Samuel. So you're going to make $10,000 off of that. The client's going to get $100,000 of real receivables that then is posted to their personal financial statement. They can keep it, they can collect on it, they can resell it, but it grows. Because typically each account that's involved in this portfolio has daily late fees of $50 a day. So we talked in the beginning that there's 2 paths for nearly anything. Well, creating wealth. The path that most people take is they go get a job, and they somehow think that if they get a job and they do a good enough job at the job and work long enough and save enough in their 401k that they're going to become wealthy. You and I know that's rarely the case. The other path is you do something entrepreneurial where you're not trading time for money, right? Take me with the COVID. Not excited, got COVID, not vaccinated, diagnosed, tested on Monday. Tuesday morning, I'm in the hospital getting infusion therapy. By day 5, symptom free, right? It's a fast track. It's the path least traveled. Why doesn't everybody go get antibody treatments instead of ended up sick in the hospital, maybe dying? I don't know. Why do people want to work and think that they're going to generate wealth versus doing something entrepreneurially, at least on the side? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me either. But the bottom line is, here we're talking about how you can dramatically help people improve their personal net worth by adding an asset to their personal financial statement so they look more credible and they're more fundable. Okay, so that answers Samuel's question. Let's see what Dion's question is. He says he's a little lost. Now he understands, he says. Okay. So any questions? A good question. Again, I'm being vulnerable right now because I'm trying to take advanced topics and sharing them with everyone. And you all are sharp, but not everyone is, right? And so we're talking about advanced strategies, legal, ethical, very effective, but these are advanced strategies. These are like PhD strategies. And so if it's too much, it's okay. Just let us know and we'll dig deeper. Okay, so we're covering 5 fast ways to help clients build fundability. And this would be for people that don't have a strong personal financial statement, because it comes down to the 3 C's, right? If we want to borrow money, credit, cash flow, collateral, have to have at least one of the 3 C's. So really what we're talking about here are ways to build one or more of the 3 C's. Okay, let's go on to the second strategy. The second strategy is almost the same as the first one, but now we're adding receivables to the business's balance sheet. Yesterday, we had a really nice discussion about the importance of balance sheets, even for early stage businesses, right? That was yesterday's training, so I'm not going to be redundant and waste your time on that. Well, you've got some companies that are early on, and you look at their balance sheet and it's embarrassing. There's nothing on it. Or the only thing that's on it is $100 in a business bank account. So this client's wanting to go to a bank and borrow $100, $200, $500,000, and the value of their business is $100 in that example. Do you think that that business is ready for a $500,000 capital raise if the entire asset base of that business is $100? Unless that person has really strong individual collateral, probably not. Probably not. Therefore, we can't ignore the 3 C's, and we're going through advanced strategies. So now we're talking about how do we add receivables to the business. Same concept we just discussed. It's just the asset's going to be posted on the business's balance sheet, not on the individual's personal financial statement. All right, so Debbie's asking a good question. Can the same block of receivables be posted both on the personal financial statement and on the business's balance sheet? No, that would not be honest, because the asset is either owned by the business or owned by the individual business owner. We can't double count. Just like we can't go buy a computer and say it's property of the business and it's also property of the individual. It's one or the other. You can't count that computer on both. Same thing with receivables. So again, nothing that we're going to do together is going to be questionable, morally off, illegal, or even gray. So no, we can't double count assets. We need to be able to defend and validate assets that are listed on the balance sheet and or on the personal financial statement. So for example, would we just say, well, I own a home, it's $1 million home, even though I don't on my personal financial statement? Of course not. Excuse me, that's lying. That's fraudulent. You're not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. We don't want the clients to do that. So we also cannot double count assets. You can't have $1,000 in your personal bank account and say, oh, it's business asset. No, it's personal asset. Okay, so the first 2 of the 5 fast ways to build fundability are very, very similar. It's about building collateral, adding assets by facilitating a debt broker deal. And again, we've been doing this. We have law firms. I don't mean people off the street, some average Joe, Mary, or Harry. We have law firms that come to us that buy debt. Why? Well, because they want to buy it at a discount and then go collect it. Sometimes businesses need to just boost their balance sheet. You have companies that get ready to go public and they need more assets on their balance sheet to look stronger. Where else can you go buy assets for 20 cents on the dollar and those assets grow every day because of the client late fees? Okay, are there any questions before we move on to strategy number 3? We've covered strategy number 1, which is increasing personal net worth. And then very similarly, we're talking about building the balance sheet, which you could argue is the company's net worth. Okay, we'll move on. If there's any questions, go ahead and type it in. Oh, Pete asked, how do they grow? The receivables have late fees, Pete, and the late fees for each client are set up at $50 a day. So every day that that client doesn't pay either the purchaser individually or the business, then the amount owed has gone up and gone up and gone up. So it's an appreciating asset, not a depreciating. Okay, so we're on to strategy number 3. Now, we've talked about number 3 before, but it's on the list, so let's go through it again. We see so often that entrepreneurs, well, in general, they don't know what they don't know, but what they don't know that you know Pete, that you know Ben, that you know Bernard and Charles and Christopher and Dion and Joseph and Maggie and Mark and other Mark, Samuel, Wayne, Zon, and others. What you and I know is no one should be self-employed. What? No one should be self-employed. Should you own your own business? That's a great idea. Should you be self-employed? Absolutely freaking not. No one should be self-employed. Well, I'm paid $10.99. You can't help it. That's a bullshit answer, and you know that, right? But you got to be polite with people. Take in income however you're taking it in. Put it into your business account, track it properly, of course, but put yourself on a payroll. Pay yourself weekly with direct deposits. It's easy to do. We can do it for clients. You can do it for clients. QuickBooks Payroll can do it for clients. It is so simple. And all of a sudden, people move from being self-employed to employed. What does that do? That skyrockets their fundability. It increases their ability to go get a mortgage for their family, to get a car loan for transportation, to get loans of credit cards of just about any type. The financial world hates the self-employed. As soon as you say you're self-employed, now you're 1099 and you've got to dig through all this paperwork that most people will never have. It's craziness. No one should be self-employed. No one should be self-employed. They should have W-2 income. It's simple, it's legal, it's ethical. And that's part of what we do in the total credit rebuild. We can set them up on a weekly paycheck. I wouldn't do less than $1,000 a week. I don't think it's necessary to do more than $5,000 a week, but somewhere in that spread, I'd be having that client earning a weekly paycheck of $1,000 to $5,000 a week. That is a direct deposit. So boosting W-2 income, without a doubt, is one of the 5 fast ways to build fundability. And fundability, again, is in all terms: mortgages, car loans, business loans, credit cards, student loans, whatever. Okay, are there any questions on boosting W-2 income? Because you're going to see this so often. I'm going to say that the majority of clients that come to you don't know this, and they're not paying themselves properly. They're categorized as self-employed, and that's terrible. We don't want people to be self-employed. And the number 2, we want to have weekly. How often? Weekly. How often? Weekly direct deposits. We know a lot of these lenders not only look at how much income a person has, they look at the frequency that they're paid. That person is lower risk, according to most lenders, if they're paid weekly than if they're paid monthly, or even semi-monthly, or every other week, bi-weekly, I guess that is. So we're teaching how to play the game. These are advanced strategies that are legal, that are ethical, that are moral, that can stand up in front of any scrutiny, but most people are not playing the game the right way to become fundable. They have inadequate net worth. They don't look credible enough to borrow big amounts of money. We can fix it. Their business looks kind of shabby, doesn't look solid enough, doesn't have enough assets. We can fix it. Personally, doesn't look like that they can reputably afford to pay back any debt. You and I can fix it, right? With number 3. Any questions? Okay, let's go on to number 4. Boosting personal credit scores. Well, to no surprise, negative information that shows on a credit report impacts our credibility. And an absence of positive trade lines impacts our fundability. So what do we need to do? We need to try to block those applicable negative items. And if necessary and needed, we need to add new positive. It's no surprise. That's how you get a great credit score. You remove negative and add positive. Remove negative and add positive. There's just no mystery to it. That's going to increase our borrowing capacity. That's going to increase our fundability. The term of the day, I guess, isn't it? And so we've got total credit rebuild to help them with that. and you're paid. All these strategies we're talking about are money in your pocket, not because you're taking advantage of anyone, but you're helping them solve problems and you get paid. And you remember, does everyone remember how much you get paid for every client you refer in? If I can highlight the T, do you remember how much you get paid for every client you refer into total credit bill? Who remembers how much it is? It's whatever you want it to be. Remember, we covered it on training. There's a training video on there. You name the amount. You want to be paid $100? Great. Want to be paid $1,000? Great. Literally, you get to write your own ticket on commissions on that. All right, so now we're down to the fifth and final way to rapidly build fundability. The fifth is get a real business address. A lot of these small business owners, again, they don't know what they don't know. They don't know often 1/1,000,000th of your knowledge base. So they think, oh, okay, I'm using my personal address. It'll be just fine. It won't. Oh, I've got a post office box, and I'll even dress it up where it doesn't look like a post office box. I'll call it a suite. Everything will be fine. It won't be fine. It's going to limit their fundability. Or I'll go get one of these shared office spaces where I've got a suite and 100 or 1,000 other people use the same suite number. No one will figure that out. It'll be fine. It won't be fine. It's not a unique address. It's limiting their credibility. It's limiting their fundability. You know that. I know that. They often don't know that because no one's telling them the truth. They're just applying and they're getting declined or they're getting little amounts. So we don't want them to get declined. What we want to do is be able to provide them a true dedicated business address that increases their credibility and their fundability. So with that being said, we've got the resource site here. So let me make it smaller so we can summarize and then see if there's any questions. This is the conclusion of a two-part discussion on fundability. The first part was conducted on September 14th, and the recording of which is here. Part two, what we covered today, are 5 fast ways to dramatically improve a client's fundability. Now, I know some of you are saying, well, it's that, but also it's ways that you can earn more income, which is true. So you can look at it either way. How do we solve the client's problem, or how do we help you make more money? Both things happen at the same time. But in summary, if people have inadequate net worth, that limits their fundability, and there's no reason for them to not have a strong net worth. You and I can fix it. We can fix it within 24 hours of boosting their net worth. We've talked about how to do that and how you get paid 10 grand. 10 grand each time you do that. We would call you one of our debt brokers. Doesn't cost anything to become a debt broker. You don't sign up for anything. Essentially, you just help us facilitate these deals. Number 2, having a business balance sheet that is weak is not conducive to a large capital raise, is it? Right? Because of the reasons we talked about. So the same concept we talked about improving a person's net worth, we can build a business's balance sheet. Same model. You earn the same amount. Third, we talked about don't be self-employed and don't have itty bitty paychecks. We have some people that come to us with an 800 credit score and they're like, bonanza, I'm ready for a big capital raise. And they got a little bitty paycheck. A little bitty paycheck doesn't give you big borrowing capacity because even though you paid all your bills in the past, you have a high credit score, you only have so much left to pay bills off of, especially if your business is early stage where the business hasn't demonstrated cash flow. There's just no reason for it. Everyone can control what their W-2 income is. It should be set up with direct deposits and it should be weekly. For the love of God, weekly. I'm telling you, weekly equals greater fundability than less frequently. We need to boost personal credit scores in some people's instances. How do we do that? It's the process of removing applicable negative items and adding primary positive trade lines. Total Credit Rebuild is the resource for that. You name your own commission. And then lastly, we talked about having a real business address. Using a personal address, a post office box, a shared office does not give the same fundability. Having a true unique address is the key. and you and I have a resource for that. All right, so let's see what remaining questions any of you have before we conclude today. All right, so Pete asked a good question. So when we do a receivable transaction, we have a purchase agreement. I'm holding one right here in front of my, in my hands here in front of me. And so we will create a purchase agreement with the client, because again, this is credible, this is legitimate, this isn't just fuzzy math. And so we will sell receivables to the client, and it's in a written contractual form. How quickly are you paid? You're paid the next day. So we'll collect from the client, we'll close the deal, and then you're wired the money the next day, Pete. Pete also asked, well, what if they don't have the $20,000? Well, if they don't have the $20,000 to buy the $100,000 block of receivables, which is an extraordinary deal, right? Do the math on that. What they're buying is literally worth $100,000, and they're getting an 80% discount off of it. And of that, you're getting half. But Pete's question is really much more simple. What if they need this and they don't have it? Well, we can look at helping them arrange financing for that. All right, next, Bernard has a question. If they're a startup, how can they do this without the funds to purchase since the business is not making money? Well, that's a great point. So I'm not here to say that all of these 5 areas have to be done. No one has to do any of these 5. We're not here just trying to upsell people. What I'm doing today is giving you a very candid review of advanced strategies to increase the fundability of a client. Now, some clients, their personal credit's fine, so they don't need this, fine. Some of them already have a real business address. They don't need this, fine. So we're not trying to create a problem to solve. It's just these are common problems that we see that can be addressed very quickly. I think Bernard's question is, okay, so let's say that they need a boost in net worth because they don't look good on paper, or they need help on their balance sheet because the business doesn't look solid, doesn't look solvent, and they don't have the 20,000. So I guess it kind of goes back a little bit to what Pete's saying. Well, we can work on financing for them for that. Keep in mind, at the core of business is that businesses need to generate profit. So clients are going to have to find some business model that they can operate where they sell some product or service or combination of the two. They generate more income than expenses, and they generate profit. So if there's some reason that they're not generating any profit yet, then we'll work through that. But I don't want anyone to infer that what we're saying is, oh, clients have to do these 5 things to get funded. That's not the case at all. I'm not wanting to be misrepresented stating that. I'm showing you some kind of insider views of how the capital markets work and what you and I can do together to help improve people's fundability legally, ethically, and quickly. But I'm not suggesting that all people are suitable for all of these strategies or necessarily need all of these strategies. We'll have to look at each client. And Zon's asking, absolutely. So I guess what Zon's asking is even broader. He's just saying, wow, I just want to broker some debt, and that's fine. We've got the debt. We've got right at 100 million of debt, literally. It's crazy. We've been at this long enough. We have almost, not quite, almost $100 million of debt that we can work with you to facilitate. And so typically the easiest way, Zon and others, to find buyers for debt is to enroll them in the Access to Capital program. And as a white label partner, as you are, Zon, you're doing their personal financial statement with them, right? And so I think that's module 2. So you're looking at it saying, wow, your PFS is not accurate and complete. Let me help you with that. And then once it's accurate and complete, if they don't have at least $100,000 of personal net worth, then you can pitch a solution to them. And it's really not a cost. So are they paying $20,000 for $100,000 of receivables? Yeah, but they're getting $100,000 of receivables, right? When we sell debt to law firms, they're not fools either. They're not just throwing money out the window. They're buying an asset. So they're buying an asset at a discount. So yes, sir, we can definitely help you with that. All right, so who else has questions on what we've covered? I'm going to take one more summary and then we'll wrap it up if there's no more questions. We had our first part of discussion on fundability, how to help clients individually and businesses become more fundable. We did that on September 14th. It's posted on the white label page. Today was part 2, and it was based upon what several of you asked. Several of you wanted kind of the insider's scoop on how to make this happen for some clients that are a little bit stuck. Right now, they're not accessing capital as quickly as they would like because they're lacking one or more of the 3 C's. Well, what can we do about that? We can help them increase their personal net worth, not just on paper, not just with quotations around, but literally improve their personal net worth. We can help them build their business balance sheet. Both of these can be done within 24 hours. You're paid within 48 hours. We can help them boost their W-2 income. Need about 30 days to do this because we're going to normally use a payroll service like QuickBooks Payroll. So it's done legally and accurately, and the withholdings are there. Get a couple paycheck stubs and direct deposit. So normally, these 2 can be done in 24 hours. This we need to allow 30 days just to be conservative. Boosting personal credit scores, that's a 60-day process, 60-day process. So not immediate, but still relatively quick. Getting a real business address, we can get that done in 24 hours, but then everything needs to match up, right? Because with our business address, we need to make sure that our records with the government and like our EIN address matches and our bank account and so forth. So I'll say that this can be done within 7 days, this within 60, this within 30, this within 24 hours, this within 24 hours. All right, so this is the insider scoop of how to legally, ethically, and certainly effectively move people from maybe not being very fundable to becoming much more fundable so they have more access to capital, all built off the simple concept that you and I talked about many times before, the 3 C's. If you want to borrow money, you have to have at least one of the 3 C's. The more of the 3 C's you have, the better. Credit, cash flow, collateral. So let us know if we can be of any resource to you on these strategies, and we'll see you back tomorrow morning. Have a great day. Bye-bye.